Hi everyone, I'm Pam with Silver and Sparkles. I'm a guest designer here for Pink Monarch Prints, and I'm happy that you've joined me today. Let me show you what we're going to make and then we'll get right to it. This is a little one-page wonder with an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. We're going to actually trim it down even smaller, but it's a flippy folio. So the cover here has this tag, and I'm using the Blue Wallflower Kit by Pink Monarch Prints. It just opens simply like that. There's a pocket down here. Aren't those pretty? I just printed on both sides. This one I layered. And then watch what it does. Oh, there's a pocket here for some goodies. And then it opens this way. Yay! And I put another pocket in here. I think this would be a nice little journaling spot, and also a place you could put, instead of a piece of ephemera, a letter or a larger piece of paper. Instead of putting this postcard here, we could have another journaling spot. So I love it. I've really stuffed mine, and I even layered the back a little, but it's still pretty thin depending on, if you do ribbons or whatever you do. So lots of options for this one as a standalone or to tuck in a pocket of a larger journal. I think it turned out great. I love it. So let's make one. So what you need is a piece of paper that measures 10.5 inches by 7.5 inches. So you can use any paper you like. And it is easier if you've, printed on both sides or used double-sided scrapbook paper, something like that. Okay. Now I'm trying to see which side will be easier for you to see. Maybe this side. On the 10.5 inch side, you want to score at 1 3/4 and at 8 3/4. So that was 1 3/4, 8 3/4. And then you want to turn and score on the 7.5 inch side at 3 3/4 inches. This is so we can just fold the paper in half this way. So if you just want to fold your paper in half, you can do that too. All right, that was 3 3/4 inches on the 7.5 inch side. All right, so the next thing you want to do is, I have missed, there it is. I was looking for my bone folder. Is we're going to fold on the score lines, and I'm going to do some inking so you can see the next step and what we're going to do. All right. Now I printed this on a 90-pound just white cardstock. I get that question a lot, so I wanted to go ahead and make sure I told you guys that. And again, I'm not sure which side is going to be the easiest to see, but we'll ink, and hopefully then you can see. So we're going to do just a tiny bit of cutting. All right. Cuteness. Okay. And I haven't decided which paper I want on the front and all of that yet. All right. The first thing that we're going to do is, when you have your paper folded like this so that it would open up, what you want to do is cut out this section. So let me put the ink on there. I just realized it's going to be hard to see. Okay, so we are going to have it folded over, lift it up, and cut out this section. So I hope that made sense to you guys. So looking for my scissors. So I am going to be as neat as I can and cut just past that score line. And then we're going to cut this section out. This is the only little piece of paper, and you can use this for decorating or to make a tag or something. Okay. And then this one's going to fold forward. All right. And this is going to be that front tuck spot. All right, let's go ahead and put some ink on there. And before we glue it down, let's do the ones on the inside, what we have to do here. And obviously, I should have just gone ahead. I just want you guys to be able to see. I hope that makes sense. Okay, now, so this is going to be the front. We're going to open it up, and we are just going to cut right along this score line. And I'm actually going to do what I call cut it out. I'm cutting just a tiny bit on either side. So it is honestly just that tiny little sliver. Okay. And then snip it off. There we go. Ah, this is the front. Wait, which way did I have it? Hold on. Sorry, guys. There we go. These are going to fold in like this. Now, this one is going to become the bottom pocket. And what I did for this one is I opened it up, and I'm just taking this corner and folding it not quite to the score line. You see that? It's not quite. And I'm going to go ahead and just glue this flap down. And you'll see where I'm going with this. And then this folds over, and it becomes this delightful little pocket that we can leave or decorate, whatever we like. So let's go ahead and just glue it down. All you need is a bead of glue right along the bottom. This is so easy. Okay. And then this one is going to become the flap that opens up. So we don't want to glue it down. So we'll just leave it there for a minute. And let's close up our folio, and let's glue down the front pocket. So we're going to put glue right along the bottom and right along the top. All right, now we have a pocket, a flap, and a pocket. Now on my prototype, I added to this pocket. I took one of the pieces of ephemera and I tore it out. I took one of the ovals just to extend that pocket a little bit and decorate it. But that, of course, is optional. So we'll in a minute decorate ours and decide what we're doing. I've done most of the inking now, I believe. So for the flap piece, I've prepped a few pieces of paper. I wasn't sure with the patterns which one I was going to use. So there's a few ephemera cards in the kit. And this is the one that I used in the prototype. And it would look like this on ours, which is cute. And then I also have this one that looks like a receipt, I guess, check. It's a little bit shorter, but just a smidge. Now, let me show you guys something. This is so interesting to me. I don't know if you can see here on the camera. These two are the same, and these two are the same. And I have two printers, and I printed one, it's a Canon printer, and then I printed the other one on my other Canon printer. One is usually for photos. I can't remember which one did which, but isn't that interesting? You know how we always say with digitals, depending on the monitor, the printer, the colors. I like all of these colors, and they all coordinate, but I just thought that was super interesting. Okay, I digress. Let's use one of these just to be different. I just have to decide which one I want to use. I cut them the same size. The size that you need for this flap is 3.5 inches. And then the length, I would say 6 to 6.25 inches would be perfect. This one's 6. I believe my prototype was 6.25. All right. So all you're going to do, we're just going to pick one. I'm going to stop worrying about it. Is what I do is I want this piece And I did print again on both sides, all the way to the edge for that stability for this, because I'm turning this into a pocket. So the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to make sure it's in here nice and snug and where I want it, okay? I've kind of squished it. And then I'm going to hold it steady. I'm going to open up the flap. There's my glue. There it is. And then I'm going to add glue right along the bottom of the card and then up on this flap. And, you know, so that it isn't gluing it to the backing, but it's gluing it to the card. Now, we want to make sure and really squish that down and give that pocket time to dry. But now we have this lovely flip open. And we're going to layer on here to give that a little more stability. And you could print, I guess, on a little heavier cardstock if you wanted, but I find this weight works really well for me. All right, and again, this is a pocket. All right, we'll just set that there for right now. All right, so what I did with the original one, again, I have a few papers prepped that we might want to use, is I used this fabulous postcard. And I may just do that again because I love it. I also have these library cards that I could trim down, but these would also be really pretty in this pocket. And again, look at the difference in the colors. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's fascinating. Okay. Or maybe it's just fascinating to me. I'm going to bring this a little to this edge so that I get that second layer, and I'm also going to do the ribbon on here. I'm going to show you guys how I did that. So that's one of the reasons I'm bringing it a little more to this edge. I'm trying to eyeball about the same border on the end and the top and the bottom, just like that. And your crease is here, so if you wanted to even decorate or something, this isn't from the same paper, but you know, you could put, you know, a little piece of paper or something there. That was just a scrap on my desk. Okay. So this is going to be our flap, and I'm going to put a ribbon here in a few minutes. Not yet, though. All right. Let's go ahead. I'm also going to layer the back. And just, again, to give it a little more stability, the paper that I prepped is actually the exact same pattern, just oriented differently. Or I could use these neutral. Why do I do the neutral? Only because then if I wanted to use that as journaling space, I could, right? So we're just going to glue that down just to give it another layer. This is optional on my prototype. I tore the paper and I thought it looked really pretty. Show you guys. Instead of a full panel, I just did a finger tear to give it some interest because I had torn the embellishment on the front. All right, so before I decide what I want to do on the interior, let's go ahead and decorate the front, because that way I'll know what pieces I've used. Okay, I love this bird. Now, I used it in the original as a pocket, but I may use it here on the front just because it is fabulous. I also realized I want to plug in my hot glue gun in case I decide I want to use it for some ribbon or something. Okay. Yeah, let's do this. Let's put the bird here, and we'll do maybe a ribbon or something, or we'll see what kind of tag we put in. It's simple, but I love it. I'm gonna put it here. I definitely want to have some glue. Wasn't exactly sure where I wanted to put it. Make sure I haven't glued my pocket closed. If you don't get some glue right along this layer of the pocket, what happens when you go to put things in here is it tries to slide it up under just the bird and not the full pocket. Okay, cute, right? Now, depending on what type of tag we make or build for this pocket, will depend on how else we embellish this. And I'm thinking I do want to use one of these library cards. Let's use the one that seems to kind of match. I'm going to just trim it off and make it maybe 3 1/8 inches. I just think that will, yes, slide in much easier and we'll be good to go. Now, again, we could embellish this card more. We can add a tab, a ribbon topper. Trying to think. I love the ribbon here. It brought in the green and the green. This is just looking a touch plain, but that's okay. I can always grab a little doodad and a little label or something. In fact, I have quite a few. Pink Monarchs kits have lots of labels, and many of the ones that I have here in my doodad are from Pink Monarch Prints. So there's that one. It's a little large. Let's see what this one would look like if I cut this oval. And I have all different sizes. I do love to keep my little ephemera folders for all my little extra pieces near. I will say sometimes I'm bad. Sometimes I'm bad about putting them in. And so I'll end up with little piles of little extras just because it takes a few minutes. Not that I can't slow down and sort my stash, but I discover I do tend to do that to myself. I don't know, I may use this on here in a minute. Let's put a ribbon, and I'm thinking depending on how I do this, now I'm wondering if I want a different. I just feel like all we see is just the plain. And I'm wondering if I trim one of these to be a little bit skinnier. And I had already gone through and inked most of this ephemera, but as I trim it off, I like to add just a little bit more. Let's see, yeah, that gives us a little more pattern. And I think I'm gonna just be weird and glue this on here and do a ribbon. Why not? Life's too short to skip the ribbon. There we go. Maybe like that. And then we'll bring in the green again. I don't really have the color green in my seam binding, but I think this one looks fine. I need to dye some more ribbon. I get questions about that a lot too. I love dyed seam binding. I use other ribbon, but this is kind of my, I was saying I'm a little bit in a ribbon rut, but not in a bad way, right? Because it's so pretty and there's so many different colors. But I do dye it myself, and there is a video on how I do that on my YouTube channel. If you like this video or you like the things I'm doing, this is not warm yet, then please hop over there and you can take a look. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm going to put the ribbon right there just to be different. Okay, so let's set that aside and we will glue it down in just a minute. Oh, so happy. This piece, I'm going to do a ribbon, but I'm going to use my slot punch. So let me make sure you guys can see that. I'm just going to eyeball about the center. And this one, I'm going to do blue. Whoa. And I'm hoping I have a piece of my hair in there. I'm hoping that I cut the ribbon long enough that it might peek out the front a little, but if not, that's okay. Whoops. If you don't get it centered, it definitely would, but it would also look quite strange. I'm going to have to pull this one out. That's what happens when you don't have a hold of it. There we go. Oh, the fun parts of crafting. All right, pull both ends through, Pam, at the same time. There we go. Cute. All right, I've got that all flipped around. Yes, it will. When this is closed, if they're it'll peek out just a touch. Isn't that cute? And then it also helps with this hinge. Now, let's pick a piece that we like to make the pocket that we want to have here. So we have some options. I love this rooster. And I kind of, again, it's hard to make up my mind what I want to do. I could do something like this and then have a pocket. I could also tear and do a little bit smaller pocket. This one isn't going to give me a lot of real estate. All of these are going to be a little challenging in that regard. Let's just do it. Let's tear it. Here we go. I like to tear paper, but I'm trying not to make it look like, I don't know, like a mouse gnawed at it. So there we go. Okay. We're going to put it right here. Let's see what it looks like with this. That's okay. And I'm just going to glue it down on 3 sides. I like the other side too. This is one of the papers in the kit as well. Okay, we're just going to put it there. There we go. And then we'll stick something cute in there in a minute. And we can decorate these pockets if we would like to. Wondering. Sometimes I like to get the white core off. I don't know if this is enough of a flower or if it just looks... No, I like it. See, it just gives it a little more splash of color. And then when you open it up, you see the same pattern. There we go. And I'm just going to glue this down. I'm not trying to do anything fancy, just decorate. There's so many ways to use elements of a kit. And that's one of the things that I love and the challenges that I love. I'm just going to stick those little pieces in there. Now I want, here, let's go ahead. So this is out of my way. Here's some glue. We're just going to stick this down. Let's see how that looks in the pocket now. Very sweet. I get excited if you can't tell. So now I need to put something here, and I may have to trim something and make it a little skinnier. Again, a piece of writing paper right there would be lovely. I don't know that I have any in prepped. Maybe one of these. Let's just cut it down a little bit and put it there. Again, it's skinny, and that's okay. Maybe a little too long, too. Nope, it fits. Look at that. All right, so that'll be a great piece to write on. Okay, and now in here, on the original, I made a little journal card and did all of that. But here I'm just going to stick some of the pieces in because we can always do that. All right, I am loving this rooster. I made a card out of him last time. I also have this delightful bird. In fact, I think I'm going to put the bird, just glue it to this piece. Give it some interest as it's sitting here in the pocket. Should I try to cut the rooster out and put him here? I think I should. Now I'm wondering if I should maybe, let's see if this circle punch will get the majority of the rooster. Let's try that first. Let's see. Yeah. We'll lose a little bit of his feet and a little bit of his tail. But how cute is he? My mother loved chickens and roosters, and we had a very 80s, early 90s decorated kitchen with all kinds of chickens and roosters. And they make me very happy when I think of her. Just don't want to glue your pocket closed. So just be careful when you're gluing things to pockets like this that your glue doesn't accidentally close everything up. Look at that. How very sweet. Let's just do one more ribbon and be done. A little bit of ribbon can really make a difference, I think, in a project. I'm trying to decide between the blue and the green. I'm going to go with green. And I'm going to do this one where I just pull it through with one end like this, and then just tie it. There's, again, lots of different ways you can attach ribbon. Do that one a little differently. There we go. You can put ribbons, keep decorating all those pieces. This is such a simple one-page wonder, but I really like it, and I like the orientation of it, and I hope you do too. So I hope you make one. Anna and Elena, thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure, and I hope everybody has a great day. Thanks for watching.